Hi, this is my reading response to 3.1. I would like to just start off by saying that parental involvement is something I really care a lot about, and I think that there are too many teachers who assume parents don't care about their child's education just simply because they don't see them, and there are many reasons for that. The survey that you described wonderfully was or indicated that reading is something that parents do at home with kids, informal activities, contracts between schools and parents, and observation and modeling are some of the most commonly used tactics that teachers see that parents use at home. One reason possibly for the reading is because it can become a part of the child's bedtime routine. It's something simple that parents can do. You don't have to know how to do much other than read, and even that can be a challenge in some homes. But I think that is one explanation of why reading is something that we do feel like we can get parents involved in. Some of the techniques that were less commonly used were learning through discussing just with your actual children. And I think that takes a special skill on the part of parents, being a parent myself, knowing how to ask the right questions. And so I'm not exactly sure why that one isn't used as much, but I do know that it is one of the ones that's held more in high regard by parents of older children. So the other thing that I found interesting in the surveys about the informal activities was that they were done in math and reading with low achieving students, with highly educated parents. But the one thing that didn't seem to be on both sides was that most of the informal activities are done in rural and small towns. An explanation that I could possibly come up with for that is there's more money possibly in cities and resources, and that parents have other options outside of school to support their children, other than working with them themselves. So one of the questions that I had when I was reading through the survey with one in particular technique was teachers helping parents teach. And when that first came up in your presentation, my thought was, well, how is that done? Whose perspective is this that's saying that this would be a good technique to use? When would you teach parents how to teach? So it's a difficult thing for how teachers can teach parents when you haven't been trained how to do that. But then you brought that up in your interesting points in your presentation. And I agree. I just think that it's a great thing, but I think that it is something that does require the observation, the modeling, and the teacher training. So one of the things that, based on these results, the reason why I think teachers don't use some of the techniques, other than using notes and talking to families when they actually attend school, is because it's easy. It doesn't take a lot of their time. It fits into their box, their job. And we need to get away from thinking about parents always having to come to us. So home visits have to be encouraged. This gives everyone involved more information. It gives the teachers more information about where the children are coming from, what types of resources they have in their home, as far as materials, supplies, or people, computers, technology. It builds trust with families. If families know you're willing to come to them, they're believing that you really are invested in their child, as you most likely are. And it also increases the teacher's continued practice of parental involvement and makes teachers want to do it more. So I highly encourage the home visits. But teaching practices is what we really have to focus on. Teaching teachers that cultural competency and understanding that everybody is coming from a different background, and has different perspectives on life and values, that is what's going to affect learning, more than whether the parents are married in the home, which is coming up later. But the teaching practices is what has to happen, because without that, we perpetuate the stereotypes that, parents that aren't involved don't care, and there's a lot of different reasons that parents can't be involved. The study that you had pointed out was indicated that higher academic achievement was related to more parent involvement. And while this is very true, there is another study that I had found by Hill, Castellino, Lansford, Nowlin, Dodge, Bates, and Pettit. And this study was completed in 2004, and it actually showed that higher educated parents and their parent involvement related to fewer behavior problems in children, which then that in turn related to higher achievement. However, parents that had less formal education, their parent involvement was related to achievement, but it didn't affect behavior. So there is something to be said too about what else is going on in these homes, and not just looking at straight parent involvement. They either are or they aren't involved. So it's definitely related to academic achievement. One of the things that I found interesting was that in the study that I looked at, that the academic achievement was higher in African American families with parental involvement than it was in Caucasian. And I don't know if that is because of a boost in the African American communities to get more involved. And I certainly would love it if that is a trend for any ethnicity. But it could also be due to different interpretations of what parental involvement is, and the purpose of parental involvement across different socioeconomic statuses. So this is a major topic, and obviously this is just one little piece of this chapter, but parental involvement definitely does affect student outcomes. However, teaching practices is what's really going to affect parental involvement. So